Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, my slide is also visible, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, let me thank the worshipful master, the senior brethren of Lord Silvery Dawn. It's my privilege to present again. Uh, this is the second part of my paper, King Solomon, Follies of the Wise. So in the last presentation, we basically discussed about the physical building of the temple, the three people who were, actually the builders of the temple. Uh, King Solomon, the king of Tyre, Hiram, and Hiram Abif. Now, moving forward, we'll be talking about how why this is relevant, why the physical building of the temple was relevant, how this is related to masonry, and how we have taken the symbolisms, the allegories from King Solomon's temple. So, for the first slide, has my slide moved? You are able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Um, Hope some of you might be remembering this was my last slide in the first presentation. So I stopped with this particular slide, which talked about what does all this mean. Let me read it out. This was the script. The temple is a symbol of an individual mason. It takes many years to build this place suitable for the Spirit of God to inhabit. It is constructed with the hard work of many men. The goal of the builder is perfection in workmanship. When it is finished, all who come to contact with it admire it. When Hebrews lost their spiritual direction, the temple was destroyed just as men are destroyed when they lose their spiritual direction. Even when it has disappeared, the memory of it lives in the heart and memories of all those who have seen it, just as the accomplishment of good men live on long after they have died. So this was my conclusion slide last time. So I'll be taking this forward from here. Okay. So how this is related to masonry? The Masonic ritual is designed around the symbolic story of the building of a great spiritual temple, represented by the Temple of Solomon. Now, if you look at the three degrees that we talk about in craft masonry, the entered apprentice degree represents the ground floor of the temple. The fellow craft is in the middle chamber, and the master mason degree takes place in the sanctum sanctorum, the holy of the holies. So you may be remembering this blueprint that I had shown last time. So moving forward, symbolically, the temple is built by a group of men working together. The design could be a mystery for them individually, and each of them may not know the complete plan. There is only one who knows the complete plan, the all-seeing eye, or the great architect of the universe. He is the master architect. However, each man has to do his task that is, assigned to him to complete the building, and everyone is depending on each other for the completion. So everyone has a role to play, and only one person knows the complete plan. So that's what this means. Now, moving forward, the temple is our own character. And that's why we say that masonry makes good men better. So for that, what we should be doing? We should constantly study the designs, and we must be aware of the proper place of the temple. That is, we are the temple. So we should be aware of the proper place of ourselves within the world around it. And we should also know that it may take a lifetime to fulfill this task. I'll be coming back to this slide again after a few slides, and we will be discussing this a little more in detail. Now, let's look at each of these different degrees. What does it mean? Now, I'm not going to talk everything about each of the degrees. That is not the objective of this particular presentation. Neither I'll be talking about the working tools or any of those stuff in this, because that's not what I'm trying to do through this presentation. Now, the ended apprentice actually represents the youth. So, as you are all aware, it teaches the basic lessons: belief in God, necessity of charity to mankind, importance of truth, values of keeping one word. This is what basically we tell them during this initiation time. And some of the symbolism that we use, they are blindfolded. Basically, symbolically they are in darkness. And there is another part to it also. When you shut down one particular sense, people will focus, that is particularly vision, people will focus on the words, and that's very important. So until the oath, they cannot receive the knowledge. Neither they can see whoever there is in the room, or the probably the lodge, the furniture, nothing they can see. And also they have the cable toe, which actually represents the height of one worker safely climb. So in one way it is a harness. Okay. uh, so every worker will have a particular cable toe. The length of the cable toe will vary from worker to worker. So it actually represents the height at which they can actually climb. So based on their skillfulness or proficiency in their particular work. Now coming to the fellow craft. Fellow craft, this represents the middle period of life. So here we talk about the importance of education, the work, and the power of God. So here again we talk about the five orders of architecture. We talk about the seven liberal arts and sciences: uh, grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, astronomy. Again, the symbolisms. The cable toe is still there, but in a different manner. The length of cable toe, again represents the height at which they can climb. Also, symbolically, they climb a winding staircase into the middle chamber. So each step of the winding staircase actually, represents increased knowledge. Now, coming to the third degree, Master Mason, we talk about this. Actually, Master Mason's degree represents age. So we talk about importance of living a life true to the principles of mortality and virtue. Teaches how to live and how to die. Uh, Symbolisms, I don't want to talk much about that, because some of our brethren may not be Master Masons today. So uh, basically, it talks about how to reflect upon one's deed and make peace with God. Death is a strong theme during this degree. So these are the things that we basically talk about during these three degrees, and this is how it is related to the three chambers of the temple. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'll also be talking about some of the key rituals and symbols in Masonry and what does it mean. Now, again, I will not be talking about everything, and I don't think in one presentation one can cover everything. As per Coyle's Masonic Encyclopedia, there are more than 90, symbols in the craft masonry itself, the three degrees. Now, again, I don't want to talk about the working tools or the regular, the symbolisms that we are using there, because most of us are already familiar about those symbols. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we usually do and what does it mean otherwise. Now, just look at the basic ritual. What exactly we do when we open the lodge. This is something that we do every time when we have a regular lodge meeting. Now the tiler sits outside the door guarding the entrance with a sword, now to keep off intruders and covens. Now everyone in the lodge room is examined, and since we know each other, we may not be asking for the password and the grips, but that technically that's what happens. Now each officer stands up and recites his duties. Then the chaplain prays, and the three lights are displayed. The sacred law is opened. Compass and square are placed on it. Then worshipful master declares that the lodge is properly opened, and the degrees may begin. This is what usually happens, right? Now, again, I'm coming back to that slide where I talked about the character. Now, why we are doing this? Now, we say that the tiler sits outside with a open sword. Now, relate this with the character and how masonry makes good men better. It is to keep a guard constantly on to keep off all vain and unbecoming thoughts that distract focus. So that's very critical. Now, second thing, one must constantly study the designs and be aware of the proper place in the temple. So that's why we recite the duties of everyone. So every officer stands up and say that what is his duty, where he is placed. Okay. And one should also know that it is a group work and it requires discipline and order. So this is what exactly we are doing this temple. And another thing that we are doing is something called circumambulation or preambulation. And all of us are familiar. The two deacons, the senior deacon and the junior deacon, walk around the lodge and squaring the lodge. Now, why are they doing this? They actually do this in the clockwise direction. And this is actually symbolic of the travel of the sun through the sky. Now, why are they squaring the corners? Now, this is also related to the tracing boards. If you remember Brother Sushil's presentation, where he talked about the tracing board, initially they used to draw the tracing board on the ground with a chalk. Later, they actually, used a cloth. They actually drawn this tracing board on a cloth and put it up on the floor. Now, when the tracing board is there on the floor, actually they have to square it because it's in the square form. So they used to take a square. Apart from that, we also know the importance of squaring in masonry. We also even do that in many things. But basically, this is how this particular custom has come into place. So because the tracing board is there on the floor, they used to square that thing and take a walk. And basically, it represents the travel of the sun through the sky. Now, another thing is the number 3. Whether it is the 3 degrees or the 3 lights or the 3 steps to the worshipful master's pedestal, okay, or the 3 officers, principal officers, or the 3 tenets, brotherly love, relief, and truth, or the equilateral triangle which has 3 sides, or the 3 knobs. Why 3 is so important? And there are a lot more actually. I have only listed a few, but a lot more 3s you will see in masonry. What is the importance of 3? You see that the 3, it is not just in masonry. For example, Plato and Aristotle, they believed that 3 is the number of the supreme being, that's of the God. Okay. Again, in our masonry itself, we use the equilateral triangle. Again, that represents God, the supreme being. Okay. 3 also includes 1 and 2 within it. So when we say 3, 1 and 2 are already there within 3. So it represents the beginning, the middle, and the end. Now, in different cultures, you will see this Trinity concept. In India, we have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Ancient Egyptians had, again, Trinity concept. They had Osiris, Isis, Horus. Greeks had Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. Ancient Romans had Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto. Okay. Gnostic deities, they had Woden, Frigga, and Thor. Christians, again, they have Trinity concept. They have Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So 3 actually is a magical number that is considered across the world as divine and as the sign of God. In masonry also, we consider, we have a lot of importance to 3. There are a few other numbers, but I'm only talking about 3 at this point of time. Now, again, coming to tracing board, I'm not going to talk much about tracing board, because we already had a session on tracing board. Basically, tracing board is the ancient day PowerPoint. Those days, they used to draw this on a piece of paper or a cloth and used to explain. Now, we are all familiar with the tracing boards of 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, but they are not the only tracing board. Those days, they use tracing boards to explain everything. Okay. Now, even the symbolism of, in masonry, they use tracing board. What you see in the picture, this is a typical 19th century tracing board. Okay. And why they had used tracing boards? Because those days there was a strict rule of not writing down the rituals. So they had to only use symbolism to explain something so that no one will understand. Okay. So they will show the picture and then they'll explain what it means. So these were basically pointers to explain certain things. So that's what tracing board is. I would request you to take a hard look at this particular tracing board. How many of these symbols do you recognize? I'm sure you will be recognizing the compass because we use that, the square, the two pillars, great pillars, this symbol of G. I'm sure you'll be recognizing the I. Many of these symbols, and I'm sure the senior brethren may recognize a lot more symbols. Now let's look at this one by one. Okay, the first one first. This one, it's called the Scythe and the Hourglass. Okay, this is an ancient tool used for cutting, tall grass, or also used as a harvesting tool. Okay, now actually this reminds Masons of the ever-present danger of death that awaits us all. And the hourglass is again an emblem of mortality. Once the sand falls into the bottom portion, it can never go back. So it reminds us that our time is counted. So we have to spend our time in an appropriate manner in this world. And the wings are also to indicate that the time is flying. So this is the Scythe and the hourglass. The next one, again, all the past masters actually wear this on their collar. It's also called the 47th problem of the Euclid, because in his book, Euclid actually compiled a lot of this mathematical equations, and in this book, this was the 47th thing. And we all learned this in the school, Pythagoras theorem. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Now, what is the significance of this? And you know the Pythagoras theorem, right? It's for a right angle, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. So earlier days, this was considered as the most useful mathematical equation in building trade. And also in elementary mathematics, this was considered one of the most useful things. Where all they use this? They use this to enlarge drawings. Foundations can be laid with this. Perfect square angles can be determined. Height of a hill can be calculated using this. Astronomers use this to calculate the distance to the sun, moon, and the planets. Sailors use this to calculate latitude, longitudes. And maybe it's a mystical symbol and one of the biggest secrets of early stonemasons. So this is the Pythagoras theorem, and it is represented by this particular sign. So this is a symbol used in masonry. Another one, Jacob's ladder. So if you're familiar with the first degree tracing board, you can see this. But we don't talk much about Jacob's ladder. And again, the reference is from Genesis in chapter 28 about Jacob's dreaming about a ladder stretched from the earth to the sky, on which the angels are climbing up and down. So this again represents faith, hope, and charity. So in this ladder is supposed to have three main rungs and also have other rungs which are temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. Basically the guiding virtues of Freemasonry. So Jacob's ladder represents these virtues. Coming to the next one, the anger and the ark. Again, it has a biblical reference from Hebrews chapter number 6. Okay, it is alluding to St. Paul's message, which says that it actually is describing hope as the anger of the soul, both sure and steadfast. So the ark is like Noah's, the story of the ark. Okay, it's an emblem of faith. Okay, whenever there is trouble in life, we believe that it will actually waft us over the sea of troubles. So in masonry, anger and the ark represents a well-spent life. That's what it means. Now the next one, sun, the all-seeing eye, the moon, and the stars. Okay. Again, these are symbols that represents God. Okay. And we all know about the all-seeing eye. And what it means is it should remind the officers of the lords to govern the lodge with regularity, because there is someone up there who is watching us, who's seeing everything. Lamp and the lambskin apron. Okay, this is the first apron that we get when we become a mason. Okay, it's basically lamp is a representation of purity or innocence, and this apron is a symbol of honor, piety and achievement. So this is basically a reminder that we have to lead a pure life and conduct and conscience, and ever striving for higher thoughts and nobler deeds and great achievement. So this is what it is. The next one is a slipper. Again, when we become, when we get initiated, uh, we wear a slipshod and a slipper. So this is related to that. Again, it comes from the Hebrew custom of removing one shoe when they enter a holy place, or sometimes they give it to a neighbor to seal an agreement. Also, it's basically a promise of honor and sincerity. So if you remember the last lecture when we talked about entering the holy of the holies, they have to remove both the shoes. It's also a symbol of that. Another very confounded images in masonry, a circle with a point and the middle. We talk about that in our ritual also, with two parallel lines in both sides, and the volume of the sacred law at the top. Okay. Now this is also an old astrological and alchemical image, and there are different representations and different interpretations for this particular symbol. Okay. Now, I'm only talking about one particular interpretation. Within masonry also, there could be multiple interpretation for a point within a circle. Now, it also represents Earth. Okay, the point is the Earth, which was thought to be the center of the universe at one particular point of time. The heaven is believed to spin around the Earth, and that is represented by the circle around the point. The two lines on the left and right, it represents the summer solstice and the winter solstice. That is basically the longest and shortest days of the year. Uh, this basically come from the pagan, feast days. For hundreds of years, they used to celebrate their feast days during these 2 days. Later, Christianity picked this up. So AD 300 onwards, June 24th and December 27, which are the longest and shortest days, it is celebrated as St. John's the Baptist Day and St. John the Evangelist Day. So this has some significance in masonry as well, as you're aware. So again, there could be multiple interpretations for this particular symbol. Another one is pot of incense. Actually, we don't use this particular pot of incense in any of our rituals. Uh, However, this is an allegory which represents a pure heart, and the prayers that arise from it to heaven basically symbolizes clouds of rising smoke. Uh, the next one, the beehive. Whether in poetry or in masonry, the bees are a representation of teamwork, and bees never quit. And also another thing is the honeycomb of the beehive. I mean, basically, it's a perfect geometric structure. What we need to understand is one person cannot do everything. So one bee cannot do anything. Working together, they achieve a great deal, and men are also like that. we have to work together. In masonry also, it's all about working together to achieve things. Very interesting thing, a 5-pointed star. There is also a 8-pointed star, but I'm talking only about the 5-pointed star here. Basically, it's also called a pendalpha. One interpretation is that it symbolically represents a man with arms and legs outstretched. And many of you may relate this to the Vitruvian Man of Da Vinci. In a way, it's also a representation of God again. Another connection could be the 5-point fellowship in masonry. Another symbol that we don't see much is the naked heart and the sword. Now, heart with a sword pointing to it while God looks down from heaven. Basically, heart and sword both symbolizes justice. And even if we hide things from others, what we need to understand is the all-seeing eye can see everything, whatever is hidden within our heart also. So, and the sword of justice will have its final, say. Again, representing the justice of that great architect of the universe. Again, another symbol with the sword, basically the Tyler sword and the Book of Constitution. This again represents that there is a code of Masonic law. Book of Constitution is the code of Masonic law that governs all the operations of the lodge. And the Tyler sword across it is basically the caution that we have to protect, we have to take care of this institution. Trowel, a very important and interesting symbol. Basically, it means that trowel is, you're all aware. I mean, what is this used for? Basically, it's actually to spread the cement over the bricks. Okay. Now, cement makes the individual bricks to stick together, and when the cement hardens, the individual stones are interconnected to make a strong wall or a building. Now, the trowel represents the spreading of the cement of brotherly love that unites us. And why are we doing all this? When joined together by brotherly love, ceremonies, and practices, individual masons work together to help each other. So it basically represents the brotherly love that we have, how we are spreading, using the trowel to spread that. Okay. Now, these are the symbols that I wanted to present. Now, coming to the Masonic rituals. Now, Masonic rituals have three things. One, it has a meaning. Okay. Basically tell us why we are doing it. That's a why part of it. Then it has mystery. Mystery is there are a lot of meanings in it. So we keep on exploring. We keep on doing research to find out the mystery behind it. And the last part is the aesthetics of it. Aesthetics is basically the performance part of it. How we are performing this ritual so that it will look beautiful. Okay, so that's why we are by hearting the rituals. We are trying to perform it as nicely as possible in front of everyone. So when all this come together, only the rituals and the symbols will become meaningful and beautiful. So we need to understand the meaning, and if we don't take care of any of these things, many a times it will become meaningless. Sometimes we don't even know why we are doing this. We don't understand. We will not even try to study this. We will only focus on the aesthetics and the performance. And most of the time, we don't even understand why we are doing it. So we will lose interest over a period of time. So this is my presentation today. I just want to talk about a Zen story. Some of you would have probably heard about this. So I'll stop with that. Uh, I'm going to read this out. The story is called Ritual Cat. So when the spiritual teacher and his disciples began their evening meditation, the cat who lived in the monastery made such noise that it distracted them. So the teacher ordered that the cat be tied up during the evening practice. Years later, when the teacher died, the cat continued to be tied up during the meditation session. And when the cat eventually died, another cat was brought to the monastery and tied up. Centuries later, learned descendants of the spiritual leader wrote and presented papers on the religious significance of tying up a cat for meditation practice. So the reason why I wanted to put this story also here is many a times when we only focus on the ritual without even trying to understand where it has come from, what is the context or the meaning, everything will become a ritual only. Ritual will become more important than everything else. And that is a danger many of the religions also fall into these days. So going back to my previous slide, I think we also need to understand the meaning. We should keep on exploring the mystery. We should keep on doing research to understand what it is. And of course, we should also focus on the aesthetics. So with that, I end my presentation today. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Brother John. I think the last slide, caught my attention in a lot of ways, because that's a story for us even in the corporate life. So we do see, a similar story of monkeys in a cage, etc. I think if we are to the dogmas of trust without challenging it, we will not be able to grow. I think great way. I think it was a fantastic continuation to the part one, where you talked about the physical part of it, and adding the spiritual dimension takes it to a new level. With that, I think thanks, because you have completed well in time, so we can take a lot of questions which we generally are unable to take. So I open the floor for brethren who would like to ask questions. The floor is open, brethren. So anyone who wants can raise their hand and let me know. Okay, let me start off. Brother Venkat.
Yes, please.
I think this was another very fine lecture delivered by Brother John. Your thoughts on it and your takeaways.
Fantastic lecture again. And I don't want to sound repetitive because I've been saying this to everybody. But let me, since we finished a little bit early, let me take a little bit of time, okay? And this is in connection with what messages went. So there are about 10 bodies that have sprung up during this period, which are all doing webinars at an international level. Okay, so there is something known as the Super Lauder, which is in Georgia. There is the Open Freemason Forum. There is the QCC, which is of course one of the oldest. Then there is something in Australia. There's something called Transoceanic, and then there are District Grand Lodges, and then there's UGD. And today, for example, there are 4 webinars that I could have attended besides this one. Okay, so I've attended all of them, and some of them are very arcane. They go into some corner of masonry, which I probably never visit. Somebody will talk about, some of the lectures are like Freemasonry in Liberia. I mean, okay, it's interesting, but what do I have to do with it? Kind of thing. Many of them do not have the depth of research, or they don't show that effort of somebody to make it. Some of the lectures that I've attended, the guy has been very shallow. And it is very clear, when I ask him 2 questions, he doesn't know what to answer. He just took something, started reading it, and he says, "This is my lecture," okay, kind of thing. And so over a period of time, Kaizad is there, and I'm sure that he probably shares some of the experiences because we have been attending some of those forums together. I at some point of time stopped attending those lectures because I found, some of them are at odd times in the night, and all those kind of things, and the sleep goes for a toss. And I had up to my gills in masonry attending those lectures in the first few months for this. So coming back, taking that background and talking from there, I will say that each of a brother who's presented those papers has done justice to the paper. To come out with the slides, to make those slides, to point out all the symbolism correctly, is not easy. I mean, it's all genuine, what I would call as primary research, and not secondary research, which is what was being presented elsewhere. So I'm not saying that John made up the symbolism. I'm saying that John made the presentation interesting for us to understand the symbolism. Okay, and even same with Sushil, same with Ankit, same with Manoj. Definitely, everybody. These are not papers that you just download from somewhere, cut a few paragraphs from here and there, and read it out and done with it. Okay. Definitely, I mean, Virtual Master has also been attending a few lectures, and each of these lectures has been a cut above the others that I have attended. In this, coming to this very particular lecture, the last point about the cat is very, very important. What happens in symbolism is that, and I'll say this as a practicing Hindu, okay, and then this can be said to everything, okay. A lot of the Hindu rituals come from a village agrarian setting, because that's where we were. We were in an agrarian setting, and they come from observance of nature, because nature was all around you and you observed it, and they come from a worship of nature. Celestial bodies, rivers, trees, everything was considered God. Many religions came later, called it paganism, but we'll not go into that. Now, many of the rituals that we do have those roots, and there is a symbolism to those roots. But when you bring that into the city and you do it, it suddenly appears meaningless. Why are you doing this? I mean, why should you do this? I mean, why do you need to take water and pour or whatever? Whatever is a symbol ritual. The problem is that as generations shift, the context of the ritual gets shifted, and either the ritual has to adapt, or the context has to be kept alive for the ritual to make meaning. So in Freemasonry, we have the context of about 400 years back, 500 years back, and by continuous lectures, continuous education, we are keeping the context alive. That this is why it was done. Why were deacon squaring? As today, he said that, and the tracing board is to be drawn on this. If the context is forgotten, then the ritual of squaring the lodge meaning is lost. Okay. So John brought out the context very nicely for many of this. The lodges of instruction which should be there are meant to fill that gap, because in the lodge you can't bring the context out very clearly because you are in performance mode. You are not in practice mode. So lodge of instruction is in practice mode and explanation mode and mentoring mode, and the lodge is where you actually deliver. So it's like a practice and performance. So lectures like this are filling that gap which we have in the lodge structure, which is everybody is expected to just come to the lodge and perform without the practice or the background or the context. So lectures like John's are really filling a very good gap, and they're a tremendous learning for old people like us. It's a refreshment. Some of it you have read about it in the past. Some of it you don't know, you have never read about it in the past. Some of it you've read about it, but you've forgotten, so you're refreshing it again. So it serves. I mean, it serves everybody. For some, probably like Ankit or Sushil, it may be absolutely new. Everything is new. So whatever it is, it serves a purpose to senior brethren like Char or or Vishwa or somebody like me, and it definitely serves a purpose to junior brethren. But the biggest purpose it serves is to the person who presents the paper. Okay, that is why I'm eager to present papers, because when I teach, I learn, and I learn 100 data points, and I present only 30 data points. the 70 is still my value add in terms of learning, So thank you, John. Very good effort. Really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, very worshipful brother Venkat. I think very rightly said, the person who presents, he gets a lot more to learn from, and also the audience, they also get a synopsis which otherwise they would have missed out. So I think it's a win-win situation for both the presenter as well as the audience. Uh, I have to admit that very worshipful brother Venkat, you have been instrumental for Lord Silvery Dawn to have taken this course along with our other seniors like worshipful brother Dr. Char, worshipful brother Abel, worshipful brother Vimal, worshipful brother Vishwa, worshipful brother Peter, etc. I think because of it, I think even younger brethren like brother Ankit, brother Sushil, etc. have been able to present some quality papers. And you're right. I think most of us have attended quite a few web sessions, and I think we really stand out. And I have learned a lot. A lot of things I didn't know. Even as having spent 14 years in masonry, I think each day seems to be a new one when I attend such web sessions. Worshipful brother Dr. Char, would you like to add something? Dr. Char, you'll have to unmute yourself first. Okay, I think till Dr. Char gets, is able to unmute, I would request Brother Kazad.
Yeah, I've got
okay.
it now.
Sorry, Brother Kazad. Yeah, Dr. Char is there. Yes, go ahead, worship Dr. Char.
No, another excellent paper, no doubt about it. And I've enjoyed listening to it. And I hope, and I'm sure we'll be getting many more of these type. Congratulations and my best wishes to Brother John. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Char. We all look up to you because you have been really pushing us hard. Let me tell you that. Brother Kazad.
Thank you.
Brother Kazad, thanks a lot for joining in at the outset. And you have been very regular in attending so many meetings. I think probably your whole month schedule is already advanced booked. So thanks for joining us.
Worshipful Master, worshipful brethren and all, thank you very much for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to join and learn. Besides even listening, the point of learning, there are few things that one gets to pick up when he moves along the way. Like very worshipful brother Venkat has just mentioned, there are some which I attended, and over a period of time, when it comes to like what is happening in Liberia and all, yes, agreed. Thode dino ke baad mein it becomes a little this thing. My aim was to look at other aspects, like what Brother John has brought out today, and just a few. These are my own thoughts, my own perceptions. If you talk it in terms of thoughts, words, and deeds, like what he was mentioning, that is in the first degree, second degree, and third degree, I would akin it to this as thought, words, and deeds. In thoughts, the northeast charge, you're inciting a brother to think and contemplate, which is again brought out in the second degree, which says you have contemplated on this. Then it comes to the deeds, where he's actually doing something in the second degree. The words in the second degree tells you how to be careful with your words, because one slip, a cause of aspiration, a lack of that particular word in the way it is pronounced, cost them dearly, and that cost them their lives. So one needs to be careful, because words once spoken cannot be retracted. And lastly, in the third degree, I would relate it to deeds. Deeds in the sense that figuratively, while raising, the evil is left behind and only the pure and good is supposed to be raised. That is why you raised as a master mason in the pure form. That was one portion. I mean, I have been listening and I have been contemplating on the various algorithms, and this is what I have come to concept myself. The second thing which was about the tracing boards. Tracing boards were made. Today we have it as ready-made because we don't have time. So we just unveil it with a curtain. But in the good old days, everything was kept very secretive. So tracing boards were known to the tiler who used to first draw it on the ground. I think I've just shared a picture with you, Worshipful Master.
Yeah.
This is which I came across, which was there from the 1800s in a French lodge. Also mentioned was one of the symbols as a slipper. Do correct me, the senior brethren are here, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I relate it to the blue slipper, which is a symbol for the.
Yeah, go ahead.
I relate it to the blue slipper because that is a symbol of the family of the mason. So wear it as a clip or a tie pin or something. The other masons who don't know could easily identify a family member who's in distress, and discreetly your assistance could be on the way without even knowing it, because like we say, your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is doing. So that is one of the symbols which was there. And as far as the lambskin is concerned, it is there in practically all the scriptures. White is for innocence, and pure white, they say, is absolute innocence at birth. So you're not corrupted, you're not anything diluted with your mindset, and hence you're presented with a lambskin which is absolutely white without any signs. I thought that was my contribution for today. Thank you, Worshipful Master.
Thanks a lot, Brother Kaizad. And once again, thanks. I know that you had choices of joining many meetings today, but you chose us. Thanks a lot for that.
Yes, there is another meeting which is going on, which is Brother Bani is doing it, the reading of the first degree tracing board. That is equally interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a shame that we clashed, unfortunately. But Worshipful Brother Rumi Khan, thanks again for joining us. You have been a pillar of support for Lord Silvery Dawn by attending all our meetings. I would like to hear something from you.
Worshipful Master, as Brother Venkat said, a lot of hard work is put into it to prepare the slides and going through and learning a lot. And I agree and with those words, and I'm sure many more such interesting lectures will be put up by your lodge. Thank you.
Thanks, Worshipful Brother Rumi Khan, and I really appreciate that you really take time out and join all our meetings. Sincere thanks from all of us from Lord Silvery Dawn. Worshipful Brother
Master, before you proceed, just one last point. I missed out, and apologies rendered to Brother John for a nice lecture. I did miss the first part, but I got the privilege of having the second one. Very nicely given. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Worshipful Brother Peter.
Well, I would say well said, well read, and well researched. Impressive. Congratulations, Brother John.
Thank you, brother.
I would really appreciate, Worshipful Brother Peter, that, irrespective of your schedule, you take it and you make it a point that you attend all our meetings. I really appreciate, and sincere thanks to you for joining.
You're welcome, and it's my duty.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Worshipful Brother Abel.
Well, it was an excellent presentation by Brother John, and there are a few things which I did not know, which John has put it in his presentation. Excellent presentation, and keep it up.
Thank you.
Worshipful Brother Bimal.
John gets better with presentation. So at this rate,
like the wine which he has, Brother Bimal.
Pardon me?
It's like the wine which he has.
Absolutely, it's like the wine which he keeps. Maybe it's the wine which is doing it to him. So what we should do now we should get him to present all the bloody papers. Every time. This. Now, superb job. Last time was superlative, so I thought you had, gotten there, but you went ahead of their age. It's unbelievable and it's spectacular, and we're happy to have you as a brother, John. Thank you for the pleasure.
Thank you, Brother Bimal.
Of being one of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother Bimal. Can I request Worshipful Brother Rohinton to share his views? And at the outset, I really thank you for taking time out to join us.
Thank you, Brother John. That was very, very well presented, and definitely I learned quite a few things from your talk today. Just to share with you what is happening here in UK right now. We have a rule of 6. That means no meeting will be more than 6 people. So lodges are meeting now with a quorum of 6, you can say. Tyler is not counted because he's outside. So 7, 6 plus the Tyler. And now we are giving preference to younger brethren to attend, because otherwise they will not get contact with the lodge as such. And the rest will have to wait for better days to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother Rohinton. Thanks for taking time out and joining us. Worshipful Brother Vivek.
Excellent presentation by Brother John, and a big thanks to the team of Lord Silvery Dawn for giving excellent papers till now, and all the best for the future. I expect to see a lot more from you in the days to come, and I'll be trying to join as many as I can. Thank you, Worshipful Master.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Worshipful Brother Vivek. Thanks a lot, Worshipful Brother Vivek. It means a lot. Worshipful Brother Vijay.
First of all, thank you, Worshipful Master, for inviting, and I'm really happy to see Brother Christabel back in action after what he has gone through. I'm really nice to see him here. And now coming to Brother John, it was a fantastic presentation. I can summarize it in only one word. Generally, we know the what of the rituals. Today, you have made us understood the why of the rituals. And that why of the rituals, as you mentioned, is very important for us to know. Otherwise, we are just mechanical, engineers coming and doing some job and going out. So that why was very clear. Small assets of that why were discussed, and I'm sure it must have taken a lot of effort to put in the presentation together. Worshipful Master, if I may just add for a minute.
Please go ahead.
I had done something on the numbers, the significance of numbers in Masonry. And Brother John, you had mentioned the number 3, right? Today that was a part of our discussion. So 3 is, just to add from my side, it's got a lot of significance. I'm not going to take too much time, but just in a minute, I'm going to summarize it. 3, it says, it talks about the 3 senses of seeing, hearing, and feeling. Another thing is the 3 great pillars. I think you already covered that: wisdom, strength, and beauty. There are the 3 steps of initiation. We have 3 overseers to approve the job and on an equilateral triangle. And there are 3 traditional grandmasters. There's a triple tau to connect all the 3 T's. There are 3 working tools. There are 3 jewels. You can go on. The list is quite big. But likewise, there is a significance of each number from 1 to 8, at least what I am aware of. And but the other aspects of each and every symbol and emblem that was covered today, let me honestly admit, almost 50% of it was news to me. So thank you, Brother John, for enlightening us with that, and thank you, Worshipful Master, once again for such a wonderful meeting.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Worshipful Brother Vijay. Frankly, I actually consider you as part of Lord Silvery Dawn now. You, Brothers Rajesh and Brother Vivek, like already formally, I think Brother Niranjan is with us. But frankly, the way you have been attending us and motivating us, we are really, really thankful. And your contribution is well appreciated. Thank you very much, Worshipful Brother Vijay. Brother Santosh. Brother Santosh is a dear brother from my mother lodge in Trivandrum.
Yes, yes, Worshipful Master. Yes, I think what I mean to simplify say is that the part two of Brother John Matthew's presentation is stupendous. I followed the part one, so it's fabulous, and I think you are setting a new standard or a new bar in presentations. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Keep on going. And thank you, Worshipful Madhav Nair, for giving me an opportunity to attend this.
Thank you, Brother Santosh. I really appreciate that you take time out to join us. It means a lot for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brother Jeff.
Well, I think everybody's covered a lot of points, but for me, personally, in Masonry, knowledge and understanding of knowledge and wisdom is something that I crave. And the in the presentation, he mentioned of why we do this, why we do a ritual, what does it mean, and understanding that is what not only keeps the brethren active and gives them understanding of the knowledge that Masonry wants to spread. It is and it is very beautiful once you get to know the meaning of a step that is even a single step within the lodge or squaring the lodge means something. And until you know the meaning, it's just a step. But the moment you get to know why that step is taken, what does it symbolize, it takes it to a whole new tangent. And worship brother John really did. I mean, I would saying did justice to the presentation is undermining his efforts, but it was amazing, and I have learned so much. So thank you, brother John, and most importantly, thank you, worshipful master, for inviting me to this meeting. And every time you send me a message for the invite, I'm so excited. The entire day is then clear. Whatever is there that day clear karo, I have to be able to attend the meeting. So I look forward to all the meetings that are there. And like everybody said, worshipful John, you keep um excelling with every meeting and every presentation. And it's absolute pleasure to listen to your papers you present. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Brother Jeff, and thanks for taking time out to join us. I think it's a learning session for all of us, like what very worshipful Brother Venkat said. I think each one has our own takeaways from this. For me also, probably more than 70% I didn't know. So it was very valuable for me to hear Brother John. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that. Worshipful Brother Niranjan.
Oh, very well presentation by Brother John. As a very worshipful brother Venkat said, a lot of pain goes into this slide and you have to do a lot of research. So very well done, Brother John. And
thank you, brother.
Due to this pandemic, I think we are gaining a lot of Freemasonry knowledge. So thanks to the COVID-19. Our Silvery Dawn Lodge is doing very well, and I think I have not made a mistake of joining English Constitution. I am very happy with our worshipful master, all the senior brethren, very worshipful Brother Venkat, Dr. Char, Brother Bimal, everyone, and the younger brethren are doing very well. I am very happy. I'm very happy, worshipful master. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Worshipful master, 8:55.
Yeah. So we will at 8:58 we will ask everyone to charge their glasses. Brother Manoj.
Brother John, what I have to say. It was like, it reminded me of my seventh standard, where, on the topic of Prissy writing. So your entire presentation, around 240 pages of book, was truncated in just 32 slides. That's the kind of information that has been packed in those presentations, and I'm very, very proud that the kind of in-depth research and your presentation skills, the quality is of top class. It's like, anyway, your corporate background always helps in putting up a very quality global standard presentation to to our lodge, Silvery Dawn. Thank you, Brother John. It was a very wonderful, enlightening session. And one more thing is that Worshipful Master, under your leadership, this lodge has been so active, and we have full support from the younger brethren as well as the senior brethren, especially very worshipful brother Venkat and worshipful brother Dr. Dr. Char, many such senior brethren. So I'm very lucky to have joined Lodge Silvery Dawn, and I'm looking forward for many such events like this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brother Manoj. Thanks a lot. Kind words. Brother Christabel, first of all, I'm really so pleased that you have taken time out to join us. I'm hopeful that you're fully recovered from COVID, and hopefully that you are taking your next flight back to India soon.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. I'm totally recovered of COVID. I don't know yet when I'm going to take this flight back because I need to solve some issues regarding the quarantine there. Currently, if I reach India, I will need to stay at home for 14 days. And this has no sense because I can work from home now. So I'm waiting for some days to have this situation clear, but I will be there very soon. I'm not going to add any additional comments about the high quality of the presentation of Brother John, but I would like to remark, as our very worshipful brother Venkat has said before, that every presentation, I do agree with him. It's the result of individual research, but sometimes makes other people, creates on other people the need of knowing more about a specific topic. I think this is the best thing that a presentation can do. And this has been the case. So now I know to know, I want to know more about certain things in Brother John presentations, and well, I think it was amazing. It was a very good one. So thank you, Brother John.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, brother Ankit, I think I'll just hold on to you. Yeah, we are at 8:59, so otherwise my brother DOC will be jumping on me. So I would request if everyone could charge their columns and be ready. Brother Bimal, I would request you to take the toast for absent brethren. As soon as we take the toast, thereafter I would request Brother Ankit to share his thoughts. Post the toast.
Thank you, Vajib. You're at 20:59, brethren. Please charge your columns. We only have a few seconds left. Upstanding, brethren. Brethren, today is close to our brethren. We wish could have been with here today, with us here today, but because of their expense, some COVID warriors, some due to other reasons, cannot be with us today. So we drink to their health and we remember them today. To absent brethren.
To the absent brethren. To the absent brethren. To the absent brethren.
Thank you, brethren. Please be seated.
Yeah, I would request if everyone can mute themselves and Brother Ankit can share his thoughts.
Yes, Worshipful Master, I think I cannot say any more words about how good the presentation was from Brother John Matthew. He's definitely researched so much, and whenever research is done, you can see it through the presentation. I think everybody can see that it's wonderfully done, and I'm just thinking that maybe it would be a good thing to do to try to get a projector screen in our lodge, and every meeting maybe we can have some paper presented like that. Because once we start meeting regularly in the lodges, because I would definitely miss this if this is not done.
Sure, brother Ankit.
Yeah.
Thank you, worship brother Rumi. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, worship brother Vivek. Anybody else would like to, chip in now? The floor is open. I encourage.
Worshipful Master.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Worshipful Master, I'm eagerly looking forward to Worshipful Brother Bimal's lecture. You had said last time he used to take one, so I'm looking forward to listening to him.
I'm extremely sorry, Brother Kaizad. The way it's going just now, it's going to be an in-house lecture only for Silvery Dawn, because there are some things and some issues that we need to examine internally among ourselves. But if it is in any way possible to open it out, it would be my pleasure. Thank you anyway.
I'm looking for the Masonic aspect, not on the lodge aspect, sir.
No, that is the Masonic aspect of the lodge that I'm talking about.
Okay. Point well taken.
So, worshipful brother Bimal is presenting probably a paper which will be very, very relevant only for the Silvery Dawn members. That's what I think he's alluding to. We are working something, but definitely, it's a popular request from all that we would like to hear worship brother Bimal. He is one of the most well-read Masons I have personally, met. He reads a lot. It's only a thing of that he needs to put it in PowerPoint and present it. That may be a bit of a challenge, but otherwise, I think he's a encyclopedia of information. I have a lot of calls with him to understand, and I'm very fortunate that I have people like very worship brother Venkat, worship brother Dr. Char, worship brother Abel, worship brother Bimal, etc., whom I can really look up to. I think we are fortunate here, and they are also easily available and reachable. I can just pick up the phone and without hesitation ask them, very, very basic and fundamental doubts. So we would definitely, even I am looking forward for a paper from worship brother Bimal, which is for the general Masons.
Worshipful Master, you're too kind. Maybe sometime in the future.
Inshallah.
God willing. Inshallah.
Brethren, the floor is open, as I said. Like to hear from Brother Kaizad, even you can. Because you set the ball rolling always.
Thank you, sir. It is just that I pick up tidbits from various places. I am not that, knowledgeable as you all are.
You're being kind, Brother Kaizad. I think in the last 6 months, probably, you have picked up the maximum, I should say.
Yeah, but it's all tidbits. Very shortly, maybe I'll get to some place very shortly.
Yeah, and we are also hoping, Brother Kaizad, that you present a paper in Pune and invite all of us.
I'll do that, Worshipful Master. I'll definitely do that.
Because we have been attending some meetings of Nagpur, but other than Nagpur, we have not got an opportunity to attend any other virtual meeting.
I will convey your point to the Worshipful Master out here in the lodge. I will do that, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Very worshipful Brother Venkat. You're on mute, sir.
Sorry. Yeah. Yes, please.
So now I think we are setting, we have put pressure on ourselves. I think the next speaker is also going to be under tremendous pressure with such quality papers coming in.
Who is the next speaker?
I think it is.
Guess who?
But I would urge Worshipful Brother Bimal that you open it up for all.
Let me see. Let me see if we can make it that sort of generic. I want it to be specifically about our lodge. Because
the
improvement.
to this, Worship Brother Bimal, thanks to this lockdown scenario, I think we have all become global citizens.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
thankfully, we have made some fantastic, friends among brethren, thanks to these virtual meetings.
Absolutely. And the amount that we've learned during these virtual meetings is spectacular. I mean, in all probability, if things had been normal, like Brother Niranjan, the worshipful Brother Niranjan said, in all probability, if things had been normal, you would not have learned so much. You would have been otherwise busy and otherwise engaged in our Masonic activities and, initiations and passings and raisings and other administrative stuff and all. This sort of thing would have been very, very far away from our agenda. But because of this, we had an opportunity, and I think we should utilize this opportunity to learn further. And in order to do that now, start getting a little bit systematic about what we want to do as we go on. Thank you.
Thanks, Worship Brother Bimal. So we have the next lecture by Worship Brother Bimal, and then on popular demand, we again have Very Worship Brother Venkat also as the speaker thereafter. Very Worship Brother Venkat, any teasers?
I can talk about the knocks of the degree, the significance of the knocks. Many people don't know when the master knocks, is the warden knock or not knock, or people get confused. So what is the logic? Why the knocks? What is the history of the knocks? How to remember the knocks? Which knocks are what? I can give a talk on that.
Personally, I think I'll learn a lot from that because I we'll really look forward for that lecture of yours. Only thing is,
I can give a talk on the Vitruvian Lodge. Just today John mentioned the 5-star, 5-pointed star, and said it looks like the Vitruvian man. And Silvery Dawn is kind of model like a Vitruvian Lodge, and that is something that I would like everybody to come in and hear, because if Silvery Dawn has been so active and all that, one of that is that we have been modeling ourselves behind something known as the Vitruvian Lodge or the European Concept Lodge, which is the other name for what we do in our lodge, and how it has improved lodges, and many other lodges which are not as active can borrow concepts, and they can better become more vibrant lodges.
Can we combine that lecture, Brother Venkat?
We should combine that lecture and make it into a very large lecture, get the district also involved.
Sure.
And present the Silvery Dawn as a case study.
Yes, I think I think the way you have sort of advised us even during our lodge meetings about this concept, and you brought us out. I think it's a very, very good model for others also to know. Definitely, I think the way I think it should be at a larger audience.
What it will be very valuable, and it's a good concept, and we can even make it international and make it this. And for that, I need to I've asked our secretary to get me statistics from Adelphi. So you all may remember that I've told you all often that in the year, I think 2001, when I was the Worship Master of Lodge Universal Brotherhood, I made a presentation called the 5 riskiest lodges in the district, and I can share that presentation anytime. That's still there with me. And Silvery Dawn and Universal Brotherhood are both amongst the 5 riskiest lodges. So in order to define what is risky, I took the age of all the lodge members, means in all the lodges, and saw how many people are at what age, and also the number of members. So based on the 2 axes, one axis being very old brethren, and the other axis being very less number of brethren. So age is very high, number of brethren are very less, which is the lodge is becoming more insular. They're not able to attract fresh talent, okay? And so therefore the lodge is risky, because if people start popping off, then you'll have nobody there. So I made that study, and Silvery Dawn was one of the 5 riskiest lodges. And so was Universal Brotherhood, Haig Brown, Square and Compass, Justice and Peace. 5 lodges in the district. Okay, and out of this, so it's a very interesting study to say that in 2 decades, by adopting European concept lodge, how the lodge has transited, and I wanted year-wise number of members and average age of the members, which I can now get from Adelphi, because if I can do it, I mean I can put it all in an Excel, but it's a bit of work.
Yeah. So I think that will be a very interesting study to see over
that we should propagate internationally and make it large.
Yeah. I think that will be quite interesting.
It will be a very good case study for lodges all over the world.
Sure. Yeah,
Worshipful Master, yes, I have an idea for a future presentation that could be interesting, and I'd like to know your opinion. It's about like a comparison between our emulation ritual and other rituals that are currently ongoing. For example, in Europe, no, the ancient and Scottish